We have become a society that values academia and materialism. Indeed, we've made a lot of assumptions about those that appear to be successful, mostly based on their achievements. What if those assumptions, though, were not correct? What if embracing discomfort, exercising restraint, and allowing yourself to lose was actually the path to winning? Hercules Kollias is a highly qualified doctor with degrees in medicine and surgery. He's an honours graduate in neuroscience and psychology, and a neuroscience-based coach and professional speaker. He's also a singer and an actor. It's an unlikely combination, and he asserts it's been an inner rigour and the delaying of gratification that has had him experience this unbounded success. Hercules, an honour to have you here with us on the program today.
I don't know who you were introducing. Who is this freak of nature?
I do. In our conversation beforehand, something I loved was you made the assertion that, number one, embracing discomfort, exercising restraint, and allowing yourself to lose was actually the path to winning.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know some more about that.
Well, it all began when I was very, very young, and at school. I wouldn't have had an introduction like the one you gave me. It would have been the fat wog with the stinky lunchbox. That's who I was at school. And I remember, when you're in an environment with a lot of good Aussie kids with peanut butter jelly sandwiches, Vegemite sandwiches with the crusts cut off, I would open up my lunchbox and the waft of garlic would just permeate through the school. It was either stew or, stuffed capsicums or, and it was so different that, the message that garlic gave out was, this is somebody you should pick on. This is somebody who's different from you, right? And so I had to learn very quickly that I had to find a voice. I had to find how to deal with bullies, how to deal with having that perception. And I promised myself that at the end of the 2 years in that particular school that I was in, my greatest bully would become my greatest friend. And so I said, because I couldn't talk to my parents about it, my parents' attitude to that kind of stuff is, deal with it. It's part of life, right? So I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? And once I actually did that, and probably don't have time for me to go into the story, but once I'd done that, I could see that there was a way to stand up. There was a way to be counted. There was a way to assert yourself in the world and to make a difference, even though the world was seemingly aggressing against you. Yeah. That's when I discovered inner rigour, and this sort of stuff. Because to do that, I had to, I had to sort of go deep into myself and get uncomfortable and hold tension and have restraint and all of those things, And 40 years on, I realised that, after many, many, courses, experience, clinical experience, etc., I've come to realise that there's an inner rigour and an outer rigour. And the inner rigour is the thing that allows you to go deep into yourself. And that means the restraint that we're talking about, the discomfort, the holding of tension. If you think about it in terms of what we do, we know that if someone can do that on a physical level, it's better for their health. We've seen that in medicine, right? We know that if you go a little bit deeper and you see that in, say, in terms of what we feel, it's only when you can hold the tension of your own emotions to be able to determine the emotions of the other that you can build the perfect size bridge between you to then meet in the middle, right? And if you go even deeper into your intellect, it's only when you can put your own ideas about things to one side and really listen to what someone else is saying that gets you to understand what they're really saying. Whereas,
This is really big for you now in your professional life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what I want to ask you is, in what areas do you see this playing out now, here and now?
Well, obviously in schools, I see, bullying and knowing, like what I went through, and helping children to understand what to do there. I'm seeing that, unfortunately, I think there's a bit of a trend towards the idea that if you're victimized somehow or if you're bullied, that somehow the world should just twist around you so that you have this illusion of alignment with the world. In fact, authentic success, and anybody who's had any real success, that never really happens that way. You know, so I see it in business. People have dreams about building a business or something like that, you know, but they don't really understand what the grit behind a business is, what allows some businesses to survive when all other things seem equal.
You've referred to that before with me, to be like fairy tale or reality.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, you know, if you're holding a fantasy in your head, it's unchallenged. You don't know what you really believe about yourself, about the world, until you can actually stand up and throw that into the arena. You know, all the inner stuff that you do for yourself is about, you know, finding what your shape is, if you want to think of it that way. And you're beating on it, trying to expand it. It's when you throw it into the world that people beat on it from the outside. And that's when you end up being the shape you're meant to be. That's when you can actually contribute authentically.
So what does embracing this discomfort look and feel like for you?
For me, it's meant that, you know, I've gone from the world of academia to the world of the corporate world, to the arts, then from the arts into the business world, you know, where I'm trying to figure out what to do with this foundation that I'm building. And so each of those steps was incredibly different from the one before. And people thought I was crazy for doing it. But I knew, because I had an inner compass, I knew that, as ridiculous as that looked from the outside, that I was on the right track.
So what were some of the indicators for you about being on that right track?
I felt, as cliched as this sounds now, I felt a profound sense of humility, and a sense that there's nothing that I should hold on to, because I can't receive anything if I'm holding on to something. You know, and it's nothing that truly belongs to you, you lose. You don't lose that.
Yeah.
And in the same way that you can't really keep what really doesn't belong to you.
Hercules, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a real privilege and enlightening, I know, for the audience.
Thank you.
Hercules Kollias is not the only one who is an advocate for building this inner rigour. It builds resilience. It also enables people to make better decisions. My invitation to you is to consider for yourselves how you might integrate this inner rigour in your own life. I'll see you next time on The Point TV.